Imagine a sacred city disputed for centuries among Christians, Jews, and Muslims. In 1099, after a long journey from Europe, thousands of Crusaders arrived at the gates of Jerusalem, determined to conquer the Holy Land. What happened next would mark the history of the Middle East and the Christian world from the foundation of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. In this video, we will go back to the late 11th century to understand how this kingdom emerged. Who were its first rulers? How did the Crusaders manage to establish a new order in such a distant and hostile land? And what challenges did they face right after the conquest? The history of the Kingdom of Jerusalem is filled with heroism, battles, and faith. Stay with us until the end as we unveil the details of this fascinating medieval saga. You will discover how a group of knights from the West created a Christian kingdom in the heart of the East, facing powerful enemies and seeking to consolidate their rule over a city sacred to three great religions. If you like the topic, leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. Now let's understand the context of this great conquest. The late 11th century was a period of great transformations in Europe and the Middle East. The papacy, under the leadership of Urban II, sought to unite Christendom and expand its influence, while European kingdoms faced internal divisions and territorial conflicts. In the East, the Fatimid Caliphate dominated Jerusalem, but its authority was weakened by the rise of the Seljuk Turks, who were advancing over vast regions of Asia Minor and the Levant. It was in this scenario that the Pope called for the First Crusade in 1095 during the Council of Clermont. His call ignited the religious and military passion of knights and commoners, promising indulgences and riches in the Holy Land. The advance of the Crusader armies was marked by successes and challenges, including the capture of Nicaea and Antioch before reaching Jerusalem. The sacred city was one of the greatest prizes of the Crusades. In July of 1099, after a bloody siege, the Crusaders managed to take it, massacring its inhabitants. This event marked the beginning of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, establishing a new Christian order in the heart of the East. The conquest of Jerusalem in July of 1099 marked the climax of the First Crusade. The siege of the city was brutal, lasting about 5 weeks, and culminated in a devastating assault that resulted in the capture of the city by the Crusader troops. The massacre that followed was terrifying, with thousands of Muslims and Jews being killed. For the Crusaders, this violent purification was seen as an act of divine justice. Shortly after the conquest, the need arose to organize a government for Jerusalem. The city, previously under the rule of the Fatimid Caliphate, required a new political structure. At first, it was suggested that Jerusalem be governed by a Christian patriarch, but the Crusader leaders opted to establish a secular monarchy. Godfrey of Bouillon, one of the main commanders of the Crusade, was chosen to lead the new political entity. However, he refused the title of king, preferring to be called Advocate of the Holy Sepulchre out of respect for the city's sacred character. During his brief rule, Godfrey consolidated control over Jerusalem and strengthened its defenses against possible Muslim counterattacks. Godfrey's premature death in 1100 paved the way for his brother, Baldwin I, to assume the throne. Unlike his brother, Baldwin fully accepted the title of king, being crowned in Bethlehem on Christmas Day of the same year. He dedicated himself to expanding the kingdom and consolidating its political and military existence. Under his reign, important territories such as Jaffa, Acre, and Caesarea were conquered, making the Kingdom of Jerusalem a Christian power in the Middle East. The foundation of the Kingdom of Jerusalem was not only a military milestone, but also an administrative and cultural challenge. The Crusaders were a ruling minority among a predominantly Muslim and Eastern Christian population. To maintain order, Baldwin established a feudal system inspired by the European model, distributing lands among the Crusader knights and establishing strategically positioned fortresses. The kingdom also received a constant influx of pilgrims and European knights willing to defend the Holy Land. This period saw the formation of the first military orders, such as the Knights Templar and the Hospitallers, who would play a fundamental role in protecting the kingdom in the following years. Despite their initial conquests, the Kingdom of Jerusalem was surrounded by powerful enemies and faced constant threats from the Muslims, who sought to reclaim the lost lands. The tension between Christians and Muslims would soon lead to new conflicts. But for now, the kingdom was established and ready to consolidate itself in the Holy Land. With Baldwin I established as the first king of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Crusaders faced significant challenges in consolidating their presence in the Holy Land. The local population was predominantly Muslim and Eastern Christian, and maintaining control required a combination of alliances, fortifications, and military strength. One of Baldwin's strategies was to expand the kingdom's borders, ensuring safe routes for Christian pilgrims coming from Europe. He conquered cities such as Arsuf and Acre, increasing the kingdom's security. To protect these regions, fortresses were built, and the Christian cavalry became essential in defending against Muslim attacks. Another crucial challenge was the division among the Crusaders themselves. Many of the leaders came from different regions of Europe and had their own interests, which created internal tensions. Despite this, Baldwin managed to maintain political unity and the stability of the kingdom. The relationship with the local peoples was also a determining factor. Although the Crusaders had conquered Jerusalem with extreme violence, in the following years, politics became more pragmatic. In some regions, alliances were made with Muslim lords and Eastern Christians, allowing for a more stable coexistence. However, Islamic opposition continued to grow, especially under the leader Zengi, who initiated a jihad against the Crusaders. In the religious aspect, the Kingdom of Jerusalem became the center of Christianity in the East. Churches and monasteries were restored, and the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem was established to replace the previous Orthodox hierarchy. The city became an even more important pilgrimage destination, and various religious orders began operating in the region, including the Hospitaller Knights and the Templars, who emerged to protect the faithful on their journeys. Baldwin I passed away in 1118, leaving a legacy of expansion and strengthening of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. His successor, Baldwin II, continued military and diplomatic policies, facing increasing challenges with the strengthening of Muslim forces around the kingdom. In the following years, the Crusades would continue to influence Middle Eastern politics, leading to even more intense confrontations between Christians and Muslims. The foundation and consolidation of the Kingdom of Jerusalem were a historical milestone, but they also planted the seeds of a lasting conflict. The survival of the kingdom depended on constant vigilance and the maintenance of unstable alliances. Peace in the Holy Land was still a distant dream, and the coming decades would be decisive for the fate of the Crusader kingdom. The foundation of the Kingdom of Jerusalem marked one of the most significant moments in medieval history. With its creation, the Crusaders managed to establish a Christian state in the heart of the Middle East, consolidating the Western presence in the Holy Land for nearly 2 centuries. But this conquest did not come without challenges. From the beginning, the kingdom faced powerful enemies and the need to balance between alliances and constant wars. Throughout the early years, the Crusader kings expanded territories and strengthened their defenses. But the kingdom's survival depended on continuous support from Europe. The distance and difficulties of maintaining a Christian presence in a predominantly Muslim land became a constant challenge. Moreover, internal fragmentation among the Crusaders themselves weakened the kingdom's unity. Despite this, the Kingdom of Jerusalem left a lasting legacy. He inspired new crusades and transformed the relationship between the West and the East. The impact of its foundation and fall would be felt for centuries, influencing the history of the Church and international relations. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share this video so more people can learn about this fascinating history. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.